Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Amy from Neurotic Mom, and I'm going to be showing you my chocolate cake recipe. This is my go-to chocolate cake recipe that I use for all my chocolate cakes, and I have just tweaked it and just changed little things here and there, and I think I finally got the perfect recipe down that works every time. It's no fail. It's very fluffy. It has a great rise. And yeah, this is just my go-to basic chocolate cake recipe. So let's get started. In my mixer, I already have, before I do that, so I've added all my written down recipes to the drop-down description box. I have them both in cups and in grams. I've done the conversions for you, but because I am old school and American, I'm going to be talking about the cups and tablespoons today, but just know that we will add the grams conversion in the drop-down box. Okay, so already in my mixer, I have 1.5 cups plus 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. It's already in there. And to that, I'm gonna add 1 stick or 1/2 cup of unsalted butter. It's at room temperature. And I'm gonna mix that first, just by adding some chunks, a few chunks at a time. It just incorporates a little bit better if you cut the butter up a little bit. I also learned this the hard way. I added the butter and the oil at the same time, and the butter stayed in chunks. So I've learned to do the butter and the sugar first, get it all creamed together, and then I'll add 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Canola oil would also work for this. Okay, that's creamed together nicely, so I'm just going to slowly start adding the oil. While that's mixing, I'm going to crack 3 eggs into this. 1, 2, and I'm going to add those one at a time. Okay, I'm just going to scrape this down a little bit. Make sure I have all the butter off of the bottom. There we go. Okay, next step. Set that over there. Okay, in this bowl, I already have measured out 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour and 1/2 cup of cocoa. I like to use the dark cocoa, just gives a little bit richer flavor, but the regular milk chocolate cocoa works great as well. So I've got the flour and the cocoa, and to that I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. There's 1, 1.5, and 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so those are my dry ingredients. And into here, I'm going to measure out 1 cup of buttermilk. And I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sour cream. And I'll just add spoonfuls in until this reaches the 1.5 cup mark. There we go. Okay, now, just a helpful hint, if you do not have sour cream, you can do 1.5 cups of buttermilk instead and just omit the sour cream altogether. And then if you don't have buttermilk, milk also works. I've just found that it just gives a little tang, a little richer flavor, makes it a little bit more moist with the buttermilk and the sour cream. But if you happen to not have those on hand, 1.5 cups of milk would work, because I've done that in a pinch before. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate my dry ingredients with my buttermilk and sour cream. Oh, and to that, I need to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm going to alternate, starting with the dry ingredients and finishing with the dry ingredients. Just mixing well after each addition. Put it on low. Okay, and I mix that just until it's come together. Finish mixing by hand, just to make sure I get the little bits of flour and everything off the bottom. Plus, you don't want to totally overmix, because that will prevent it from rising fully. Okay, now this is going to fill 2 8-inch rounds or 3 6-inch rounds. And today I'm doing 8-inch rounds. And this is gonna go in your oven at 350 degrees for, I start around 28 minutes, and then I'll test with the toothpick. Every oven's different. So I'll start there and then add a couple minutes at a time. And you'll know it's done when it pulls away from the sides, just a little bit, and if you touch it in the middle, it springs back. I also do the toothpick test. Insert it in the middle. If it comes out clean or just a couple crumbs on it, then it's finished. Also with this recipe, get my cake pans. It comes out of the pans really easily. I don't need to put parchment in the bottom of these, so I just spray them generously with some cooking spray. Let them cool out of the oven for about 10 minutes and turn them upside down. They pop right out really nicely. Okay, just gonna scoop my batter. These are 2-inch high pans, and I'm gonna fill them about half full. And you can get a food scale and measure them out exactly. I just like to eyeball it. This cake goes so well with any flavor of buttercream. I've paired it with chocolate, obviously, and vanilla, but it's really good with Oreo buttercream, which I have a tutorial on. Peanut butter buttercream is my oldest son's personal favorite. And I'm going to be filming a tutorial on that next, so stay tuned for that. It goes with cinnamon buttercream, fruit fillings, caramel, pretty much everything. So I'll give it a couple drops, get the air bubbles out, and then these are ready for the oven. Okay, my cakes are out of the oven. These took about 34 minutes today. And you can see there's a good rise on them, and they're completely cooled now. So I'm gonna show you how you can either decorate them right away, or I actually make my cake layers ahead of time and freeze them for later and pull them out when I'm ready to decorate a cake. So I'm gonna show you how to do that really quick. I've got a serrated bread knife, and I'm just gonna get eye level with my cake. And you can see how there's just a little dome on the top, and I'm just gonna slice that part off. And I always save my cake scraps for later. We either like to eat them, or I'll save them for cake pops, or I'll have leftover buttercream, and we'll just kind of mix them together for a snack. It's really good. Okay. There are fancy tools to level your cakes perfectly even and level. I swear one of these days I'm gonna buy one, but just one of those things I never think about until I need it. And so I end up just using this knife every single time. So to store these, I will just get a piece of parchment and put it in between here and stack, and I will wrap it in plastic wrap and stick it in my freezer, and they last in the freezer up to a month. And I've personally taste tested, and they stay fresh and moist and good as can be. Thanks so much for joining me today on Neurotic Mom Bakes. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. You can also find me on Instagram at Neurotic Mom.